Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much, guys, for sticking around. Thank you for watching all my videos. Thank you for sharing all my content. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking. In this video today, we are going to be talking about the various routes you can use to move to the UK legally. Right, and with me today, I have Damilare Ogunleye, my friend, who moved to the UK on Technician Global Talent Visa also. Hi, Damilare.
Hi, Wale. Thanks for inviting me to your channel, and I'm excited to be talking again and chatting with you about the different routes for moving to the UK. Just like Wale said, about a year ago, I moved to the UK as a technician global talent, and it's been an exciting ride so far. So really excited to talk about the different routes you can also take to join us in the UK.
Oh yes, and it's also exciting to mention that one of the best routes to move to the UK is Tier 1 visa, right? Which Technician Global Talent Visa falls under, right? And that's something to brag about, isn't it?
Well, yeah, we can brag about it.
It is
Yeah.
the easiest route to settle in the UK, actually,
Yeah,
right?
true.
And join us on this conversation today. We'll be talking about various routes that is available for you to come to the UK. Yeah, so welcome back, guys. So, like I said, we'll be talking about the various visa routes you can move to the UK with, and right. So, I think we should just take it like this. We'll talk about the various tiers, the different tiers, right, and then talk about it extensively. So, we have the tier 1 visa, we have tier 2, we have the tier 3, which has been suspended. There's tier 4 and there's tier 5, right? Okay, so this visa route actually talks about the ease of settling in the UK, right? Starting from tier 1, tier 1 is actually the easiest, like I mentioned earlier, to settle in the UK with, followed by tier 2, then tier 4, then tier 5, right? So we'll talk about all of these tier visa categories extensively and how you can apply for each of them, and everything you need to process each of these visa categories. So let's start with tier 1, all right? On that tier 1, let's talk about all the visa categories we have in tier 1. Of course, technician, global talent is part of them. Then let's talk about them. Let's start from technician.
Okay. Before I even get into that, thanks for building that premise. It's important to also mention that you can cross all the tiers at any point in time. So you could come into the UK with tier 4, and then maybe based on the work you do within that time, you can actually translate or transition into like tier 2 or tier 1. So it's important to explain that it doesn't mean that it's the tier with which you start that
Then
you'll be
you
stuck
end
with,
with.
right?
Yeah,
So you can also transition. But just to talk about technician, I think you've
the
done an
global
extensive,
talent visa.
yeah, the global talent one. I think it's important. We always talk about it as technician because we are
that's what
technology
applies to
people,
us.
but there are different areas under the global talent visa. You have the one for arts and this and so what we fall under is the one for digital,
Yeah.
but there's the one for arts. There's the one for sport.
academia.
There's academia. There's quite there. I think there are about 5 different categories under the global talent one. What they call GTV. Now I think you've done a good job. And if you haven't seen that video, go watch
Yeah,
the
please
video.
go to my channel to check how I talked extensively about the technician global talent visa,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So I think what I'll just speak to about it is basically there are two key things if
Yeah.
you're coming under the digital route. It also applies to the different routes, but I'll speak extensively in the one we have experience in, which is the digital talent one. So whether it be arts, whether it be academia, you would find whatever we're sharing to be relevant to apply. So what is required? You just need to show that in the different routes that you have demonstrated some impacts or shown some impact over the course of your career. Now, for these 2 routes, you've got exceptional promise, and then you've got exceptional talent, right? I think now the most important difference is basically the levels of work that you've done or you've shown over the years, or the level of experience you've had in your career that you can demonstrate. So the way it's split is that it's recommended that if you've got less than 5 years of experience, right, whether it's digital, whether it's in the art space, you go for the exceptional promise.
Yeah.
And if you have more than 5 years, you go for the exceptional talent. Now, I will always say that it's not the hard and fast rule, because sometimes you start your career in one part and then you've gone to another part. So imagine you started your career as an arts person or as a research person, as a academia person, and you've spent a few more years as a technical person. So which one do you count? So it's usually not a hard and fast rule. Sometimes I don't even think they do that again. But I remember that before, if you had applied for exceptional promise, sometimes if you had overwhelming evidence, they will nudge you up, right? They will nudge you up. But now I think I think now they might be a bit overwhelmed with the quality of applications.
The way they are rejecting.
Oh yeah, tell me about it.
So the applications are actually so much for them.
Yeah.
People are not even putting in much
effort.
Right.
Yeah, that's a very important point. And I think that's where to kind of segue into what is required and how do you go about it. So what is required? I've talked about the levels of experience you require, but I think I don't want to go or rehash some of the things you've covered in your earlier video.
Just go back, go to my channel. I think that's like the third video on my channel where I talked about moving to the UK with Technician Global Talent. So just go there to watch extensively, right? If you want to, if you watch the video and you want to apply, the link to apply is gov.uk/global talent, right? The link is on the screen. Just follow that link, and it's also be in my this video channel description, right? So let's move to the next one, which is the Innovator visa, right? So mind you, we are still talking about the tier 1 visa, right? Which is for high value migrants. So the second on this list after global talent now is Innovator visa.
Yes. So again, I think one helpful thing to talk about is there is similarity in the requirements, right? There's some difference, but there's similarity in the requirements across even the different types of what's it called? The different types of visa categories under each tier, right? So for the global talent, for the innovator visa, for the startup visa, for the investor visa, for the scale-up visa, the requirement is that you basically can prove that you've done some work, right? Okay. So that's like the basic, you've done some work. And the way you prove those things is maybe people can vouch for you. You can show that you've got media mileage or media mentions. You can show the impacts that whatever you've done already has made or has a potential to make. I think it's very important to state it. So to come to the innovator visa. The innovator visa basically similar to the global talent visa. What are the requirements? You need to be able to show that whatever idea you're working on, whatever business you plan to set up in the UK, is innovative, right? The giveaway is in the name. The key is in the name, right? Is that it's innovative. The similarity with the global talent is that you also got endorsing bodies, right?
Yes,
so exactly. So it needs to be endorsed, and what the endorsing bodies really just prove is that this is very innovative. This has, and the way I like to think about it is always to think about all these visas as contributing to the UK. Because the honest truth is that the reason why these visas are given is to improve the economy. It's improving. Yeah, it's not charity. Yeah, it's not just charity. It's improving the economy of the UK. And so it's always important to have that at the back of your mind, that what they are really asking you for is to prove that you can improve the economy.
For innovator visa, is there a certain amount to it? Is there a limited amount you need to have? I mean, I read somewhere about
yeah. So for the innovator visa, you need to have at least £50,000 in investment.
Wow.
Yes, you need to have at least 50,000. Now, the way it also works is that let's say two of us are applying for the innovator visa, and we're on a team. We would need to each have 50,000. So we need to have £100,000 in investment.
So it's not even per team.
No, it's not per person. It's per person, right?
Are you sure this one is for you? Let's move. Let's keep moving to the other.
You'll be surprised. A lot of people, because I'll tell you why the innovator visa is actually good. It takes away. We are simplifying this global talent visa, but it's a bit of work when you have to ask all the recommendation, all the media mentions. It's a bit of work for you to prove that, right? So without saying that, what the amount of hassle or work you need to do in the global talent one is the amount of money you need to get in the innovator visa. In terms of like what is required, so I talked about like being sure that it's innovative. You get endorsement from the endorsement bodies and all the other requirements, like basic ones. So you can always find that. I think it's better to then move to the other one, which is startup visa. Yeah. So the difference between the startup visa and the innovator visa basically is that the innovator visa gives you 3 years, which you can also renew.
Okay.
But the startup visa is non-renewable.
Oh, okay.
So you get 2 years. You get a visa for 2 years, and within that 2 years, what is expected of you is that you've actually demonstrated impact, pretty much. So
after 2 years, you can't renew.
You can't renew. So the most recommended route people often take is that you start up with the startup visa. Imagine I'm saying start up with the startup visa, but you start with the startup visa, and then in that time, you probably have defined some business that is innovative, right? And then you move to you get the innovator visa. Now, the difference is that the startup visa similarly comes with a bit of endorsement, right? So a few common routes I've seen people take. Maybe you've gotten student visa, which is the tier 4 one, right? Maybe you've done your tier 4, and now there's even I don't want to give away that, but we'll come to that. But maybe you've done tier 4 for a bit, and then after your program or your academic study, you want to still stay within the UK. right? The startup visa basically can be endorsed by certain universities, right?
Yeah,
So
okay,
if you've
yeah,
got an
I read
idea,
that, I read
if
that.
you've got an
So,
idea, maybe you got into an incubator in the university,
yeah,
right? Because many universities in the UK actually have incubators, right? So you've got a business idea, something very innovative. So you then applied to the school's incubator or the school's accelerator. Most of them are incubators. You will get a startup visa, which comes for 2 years. In the 2 years, the idea is that you can prove that there's opportunity here, right? That is innovative,
yeah,
which then allows you to maybe in that time you can actually transition to any of the other visas. It could be global talent you could get. It could be because you could get an exceptional promise within that time to show that, well, within these 2 years I was doing startup visa, I actually did something that demonstrated
It's
impact.
interesting to know that the UK actually gives you lots of privileges and opportunities to move into, I mean, different visa categories that allows you to eventually settle in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so to apply for the Innovator visa, the link is gov.uk/. Innovator visa. The link is on the screen. And then for startup visa to apply and read more, gov.uk/startup visa. The link is on the screen and
Yeah.
also in this video the video description. There's another one, investor visa, right?
Oh, the famous investor visa.
Yeah.
Oh,
Let's
by
talk
the way,
about
before I
that.
come to the investor visa, just to wrap up on the startup visa
Yeah,
one,
sorry. Yeah.
the startup visa, you also need endorsements,
Yeah.
right? So again, the link Wally described earlier on, you would also find the list of endorsing bodies, right? But it's very common that many of the endorsing bodies are actually incubators and accelerators, right?
Okay.
So, and one thing that people because we've been talking about startup, and it looks like it's all a lot of technology. Right. An example of endorsing body is someone, the BGV, they're called Beltnau Green Ventures, right? NGOs sometimes apply, right? So if you could be social impact, so it's not just because sometimes you get all this tech.
Especially when people hear startup.
They're like, I'm not tech. So if you want to read more, go check out the list of the endorsing bodies in the link. On that link below.
Okay.
Now to the investor visa, it used to exist up until much recently, right?
Yeah,
And if we talked about 50,000 pounds being for innovator visa, wait till you hear what it's for investor visa.
How much?
2 million pounds.
2 million pounds.
Yep, 2 million pounds.
Oh,
But I mean,
this is for the likes of Roman Abramovich.
yeah, I mean, interestingly, it's one of the reasons why it's been suspended. I won't say it's been scrapped, but it's been suspended temporarily.
Maybe people have abused it.
I guess so. But it's been suspended. Only the only people that can renew the investor visa now are those who already have it, right? You can renew, but you can't apply for a new one as an investor. Even if you have the 2 million pounds, maybe you need to consider the innovator visa and sponsor your entire team.
All right. Okay, so that is it for tier 1, right? So let's move on to the next visa category, which is tier 2 visa category. We'll talk about how you can get tier 2 visa category, the eligibility, the links to apply, of course, and all of that. We'll delve into that shortly. Let's talk about the tier 2 visa categories, right? Under tier 2, we have the skilled worker visa, we have the health and care worker visa, we have the intra-company transfer, we have the minister, religion, and sportsperson category under tier 2. So let's delve into that and talk about that extensively, starting with skilled workers.
Yeah. So the skilled worker program or the skilled worker visa one is kind of similar to many skilled worker programs all over the world. So you've got the Canadian PR program that's also is a point system. So the skilled worker program is also a point system. You need to just demonstrate that you have A, B, C. Now, the thing that is very important to mention is many companies in the UK now. So I think now that we're doing this video, it's a very good time because we know the impact of Brexit, right?
Yeah.
So what has happened is there's a bit of shortage of skills, which is, I mean, the good thing about the audit visa is that the giveaway is in the name. So skilled worker, right?
Yeah.
It's like we are short of skills and we are looking for skilled workers, right? So you need to just show that there is an area of deficit that you can fill in, right? So the most common route people match up to this skilled worker route is sponsorships, right? So companies are saying they are looking for these specific talents, but they can't find them in abundance in the UK, right? So they are in demand talents. And these talents vary across different categories, right? But the obvious thing is that companies sponsor people. So like I earlier said, that it's not uncommon to come into one category in the UK and want to transition. So like I already said it earlier, you can start on one visa category and then transition. right? So it's not uncommon for people to come into the UK, say as a student or on the student visa route, and then get a company to sponsor. As a matter of fact, that's actually what the UK wants. So prior to now, most times when people completed their studies, maybe their postgraduate studies or even their undergraduate studies, almost instantly, once your visa is expiring, you are jackpotting back home. But now there's now allowance for 2 years post-study visa.
Yeah.
Now, if you think about it, all these things are consistent in design. So, like I told you, there's startup visa, there's post-study visa. The idea is that within your post-study period, you can find an employer that sponsors you.
They'll give you the skilled worker.
Exactly. So they sponsor you, right? And what the sponsorship kind of comes to is that within this time period, you are tied to this employer, right? And if you continue to stay with this employer and you continue to stay within the UK, then you continue to work towards your permanent settlement, right, in the UK. So that's what the skilled worker is.
Yeah. And yes, so for the link to apply to check, so there are actually list of it. There's a list of companies, right, that provide skilled worker sponsorship, and you can check uktrsponsors.co.uk, right? The link is on the screen and also in this video description, where you can check list of companies that are currently sponsoring people for skilled worker visa, right? So just check them out. Some of them also put out vacancies, right, where you can apply for the job and then they sponsor you from wherever you're applying from. They bring you to the UK. Then as long as you remain with them for a period of time, so I think it's 5 years.
5 years, yeah.
Right, and then after that 5 years, you can then apply for a permanent settlement in the UK before you can then go to. I mean, you can then work for other companies. I mean, now that you have your 5 year settlement, you have your ILR, what they call your ILR, right? So
I wanted to just add also that. Yeah. So sometimes, and I have 2 points to make here about the skilled worker program, particularly the sponsorship route, is that it's not uncommon again for you to actually get that visa from the country you're in. So most people would think that, oh, well, I need to be in the UK for people to sponsor. The honest truth is that there are a lot of skills shortage, right? The truth is that there are a lot of skills that are in demand because there's a skills shortage on the market at the moment. So like Wale rightly said, check the link in the description below and check. You can even tailor one of the things that a channel like this does, or a program like this does, is to help you see how you might be able to fit into a narrative. So you might not necessarily be on that journey yet, but if you look at some of the skills, you might say, how might I fit into these skills further down in the line or further down into the future? But yeah, that's the summary of the skilled worker program. I think the second point I wanted to make is that even though it's 5 years, if you were to start 5 years on a journey, some of the years that you spent on one visa actually counts towards the next visa, right?
So that makes us move to the other type of visa that here too, which is health and care worker visa.
This one is
hot cake.
It's hot cake. It's very, very hot cake. Yeah, very hot cake. I mean, so for people who don't know, there are a few systems that are important in the UK. There's transport, right? Which you've got like transport for London. You've got all that. There's healthcare, which is NHS, right? It's different. It's a different monster. NHS is like the biggest employer of labor in the UK, right? And what has happened is that with Brexit, a lot of roles, so care workers and health workers, are suddenly in demand because there's a lot of shortage. So it's hot cake, really hot cake. And again, similar to just think of it that is a special category of the sponsorship of the sponsored skilled worker, right? Yeah. It's just a special category of it. Is to call out a special skill to say healthcare and health and care workers. Like we know used to call it healthcare, but health and care workers, right? So it's very similar. You are working in the health and care industry. You can demonstrate that you've got the skills, you've got the qualifications, right? Again, I think to speak to the specifics, you need to read about that in the link below.
This link, so for that, you can just go to gov.uk/healthcare worker visa, right? The link is on the screen and also in the description of this video to read more extensively on the eligibility criteria and every other thing you need to know about the healthcare worker visa, right? And I think we also have intra-company transfer, right? That is if you're working with a global company, right? That has probably maybe you're in Nigeria or Ghana, and your company has maybe they have an office in the UK, and you want to apply to the UK office, right? So the company can give you that intra-company transfer visa to move to the UK. And then on that same tier too, we have for minister, sportsperson, those are straightforward, right? People in the religious sector. If you're a sportsperson, you want to get maybe you want to come to the UK to play football, or you go to one of these clubs to register and all of that. They give you the tier two visa, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's that about tier two. Let's move to tier three. Of course, there's nothing to talk about tier three. Tier three is the unskilled worker category, which has been suspended, like we said earlier, and there's actually nothing to talk about that now because it's not relevant. It's not something you can apply for, right? So that will take us to tier four, which is another hot cake. Of course, I've seen a lot of people move to the UK on that tier four, which is basically student visa, right? And Damilare, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I think I like the way you've broken it down. Whereas the tier one is about experience and skills. Tier two is about skills, right? The third one, which is called unskilled, and they continue to, even though it's suspended,
Yeah.
they temporarily continue to open. So remember that there was a time when there was shortage of truck drivers, right?
I remember.
Which caused supply chain disruption in
Yeah,
the
they
UK,
were looking for
and they had to
people
quickly
and
open like a
trucks.
5,000 number of.
that's
It
true.
wasn't even any truck; it was a particular type of truck drivers, right? So
They
they
opened
could
it for that moment.
for that moment, right? Which is in itself, it can look like unskilled, but it's a type of skill actually, right?
Yeah.
Because there's sometimes those shortages. Now for tier four, right? That's the new dispensation. Everyone is like, that's the ultimate one.
The new dispensation,
And what has made it interesting is, and people wonder like, what has changed over the last 1 or 2 years? That it seems like a lot of people have moved to the UK. The reason is that prior to now, you didn't have post study work visa.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact,
Once your work, your study visa expires,
go back to the. So what had happened was, prior to then, they ran some pilot program with certain universities, right, to see that, okay, certain universities, can we give you post study work visa? So there were a few, some of like the Oxbridge universities that had that even if you went there after your program, they still allowed you to stay. I think it was 1 year before, right? But now they've now expanded it to everywhere, right? So the idea is that you come on the post on the study visa, on the student visa, right? And then within your after your program, you get 2 years. Within the 2 years, you get, which is what I explained earlier, you get the sponsorship or an employer who sponsors you, right? That sponsors you. And one of the advantages of many of these visa categories we've been talking about, I think we didn't mention or highlight, is the extended benefits of your partner. Yeah, because you can bring your partner too. So on the student visa, you bring your family, you bring everybody. On the student visa, you get a student visa. Within that time, your husband gets a work permit to work in the UK, right? Your children
can come.
And that's an interesting thing that people also don't explore, which is that you can come into the UK as a student, and your husband gets into the UK and finds a job that gets sponsorship, right? Because I'll tell you why, that maybe people don't consider this. Getting a job, even from a company that sponsors, is much easier when you're in the UK than when you're outside the UK. It's much easier. Like, that's the factual truth. Because sometimes it's not uncommon where you put out your job and people will say, are you already in the UK? Because people, that's why it's a challenge, it's in demand. Like, they want you to get the job already, right? So sharp, we need you to resume today. So if you came into the UK as a student, but your partner gets work permits and can start working, the chances are that your partner can even accelerate your settlement. Yes, because now you came in, you were like the main person, but your partner has switched your visa category. Now you're the one flipped depending on your partner. So there's a lot of interesting dynamics that comes at play with the student visa. But I think it's very straightforward in terms of like the student visa. Yes, just demonstrate that you are studying a course, demonstrate that you've gotten admission, your tuition, at least some part of it. You don't need to have paid all. And what is interesting is that the schools are actually looking for a lot of students. So I hear the amount of scholarship sometimes is ridiculous. 90% scholarship.
The main thing I think people should also, should just learn, if you're watching this, is try to make a lot of research, right? There's a limit to what we can talk about in this video, right? Except myself or Damilare decided to then make another video extensively on one of these categories, right? But for student visa, there's a lot of resources you can explore on the internet that talks about schools with the lowest fees, schools within UK, England, or Wales, anywhere in the UK, in Great Britain that you can explore, right? You can also go to the UK government website to learn more. That's gov.uk/student visa, right? There's a lot of information out there on that website. The link is on the screen and also in this description that you can learn from and also explore your own options, right? I think any other thing you want to add about TFL before we move to the last category?
I think one other thing I should mention is being strategic. because I think sometimes people are not very strategic. So don't forget I said that you get a post-study visa.
Yeah.
So you can work from the back. What are the talents that are in demand? Right? Because I see people just go to school. I want to get into school. I just want to, without planning or strategizing. So you can actually do the research. Like the link that is also in the video description below. Check what are the jobs that are most common. Can you tailor this, what you're applying for, what you're going to school on, so that you know exactly. It's almost like you're working to the answer, right? Because chances are that when you do your, maybe if it's not even if an internship, if whatever you do post study or during your study, you already get into the industry, and it makes your upskilling or your upgrading to a different visa category much easier. Much easier. Now, the only thing I think I just wanted to add is, so the student visa allows you to come study for a particular time for your program, and then after your program, I think you get about 3 months or thereabouts to then apply for because it's not automatic that you also get the post study visa, right? It's simple, but it's not automatic because it's not for everybody. So you can decide after that one that you're not deciding to stay. You want to go back to your country, like you want to go and save your country, right? So you still just apply, but you're given a bandwidth. It's basically within the jurisdiction of your school to show that, hey, you've gone through this program, this 3 months, because maybe after the program, you still need to submit your thesis, depending on whatever you do, right? And then for some people, you can apply for another student visa, right? So people can start their masters and move on to their PhD, right? It continues to count, but it's just endless. It's just endless.
We'll move to the last visa category, which is tier 5 visa, right? Under tier 5, we have the temporary workers, and then we have this peculiar one, which is actually peculiar to some particular countries, right? The youth mobility scheme visa, right? Damilare, you want to start with the temporary visa?
Yes, so the temporary visa one, again, one of the things that's peculiar to many of these visas is there are ones that are renewable, and there are those that are non-renewable, right? So the temporary visa one is one of those that fall under the non-renewable. Yeah, it's non-renewable.
After the expiration, you go back,
or you have upgraded to another one, right? So the temporary visa one really applies to specific spaces. So charity space, religious space, creative space. You must be fitting into that, right? Similar, you would need someone who needs that skill, right? Because again, I always say that the names of the visas are the giveaways. Temporary worker, you must be working, albeit temporary. So it usually applies to these different bodies. So whether it's not bodies, groups. So whether it be NGOs that need temporary people to fill it, or churches, or mosques.
The church needs a drummer boy.
Exactly, they just need to fill a gap for temporarily. But it's also a route that many people use to then within that time to find their route. So again, it's almost like if you're in a church and you're a volunteer in a church, you want to explore this, because I find that many churches, mosques, different religious faiths or different faiths explore this route to actually bring people to fill in the gap here in this space. So if you're active in your faith back home, you want to consider how maybe your denomination is trying to expand into the UK, and maybe in that expansion they have a gap, because in the UK, for instance, everyone is facing work, everyone is following their work. So sometimes the things that we use volunteers back home in Nigeria for, it might be difficult to get some of those volunteers. So what those kind of things they find people that temporarily fill that space, right? So again, there's a ton of information that we cannot go through here that fits into that, but this is something that is quite common for people to be able to get into the UK. Now, this is important to say that it's quite different from the tier 2 one for minister of a religion, right? It's quite different. That one actually is renewable. That's one. The other thing about that one again is that there's a lot more stringent requirements for those people, for that category. It's a lot more stringent.
Right? However, this is just temporary. It's just 1 year, and you can't renew it. I think it's also called the international agreement.
That's correct. It's the international agreement worker.
Then to read more details about the temporary visa, go to gov.uk / international agreement visa, as you can see on the screen, and also in the description of this video. So let's move to the last visa. That's the second visa in this tier 5, which is the youth mobility scheme, right? Of course, that is only applicable to some countries. What are the countries now? Monaco, Hong Kong, Japan, Canada, Australia, Korea, New Zealand, Taiwan, and I think San Marino, right? So if you're in any of these countries watching, this this particular visa route is for you. Darren, you want to just talk briefly about it before we round up?
Yeah, so I mean, there are two boundaries for this visa. The first is the age band, so you need to be between 18 and 30.
Yes.
Yeah. The second is also specific to certain countries that have a type of agreement with the UK, right? So I think to see the full list of countries, you can check out the link.
Yeah, that's gov.uk/youth mobility. The link
Yeah.
is on the screen, also in this description.
So the idea for this is basically to provide mobility for young people again, right? So it's kind of an experience for young people in these countries to get acculturated into the UK environment, right? So again, it's for 2 years. It cannot be
It
renewed.
can be renewed also.
It cannot
So
be
I
renewed.
think most of the visas
So
on
if you
tier
think
5
about if you
are
think
not
about it,
renewable.
tier 5 are temporary fields.
Visas.
They're temporary visas. They cannot be renewed, right? There are a few other visas that also cannot be renewed in tier 1, like I've covered, but this one cannot be renewed. This is for longer than the temporary worker one. This is for 2 years, but it's bound by the countries and the age band, right? Again, you need to prove. I think for the two categories, you need to show that you have a minimum of, the figures keep changing, but I think it's a minimum of £1,720 or £270, something about that.
Just go to the link on this description, or the link on the video screen again for, I mean, just read extensively on this particular visa category.
Yeah.
So I think that's it, Gary.
That's,
is there another thing?
I mean, unless they bring out, I mean, they will continue to bring out new visa categories. What is very important is like what Wally said earlier on, which is be very intentional, do your research, and there's just a ton of opportunities for how you can. I find it interesting that people sometimes say, "Oh well, I don't qualify for this," right? You will be surprised from any of the visa categories. You'll be surprised that you probably find something that you qualify for. You would be surprised, because I've gotten people who say, "Well, I don't qualify for the global talent visa."
Exactly how I felt when I read about it.
Oh,
I'm not qualified until I sat down to make proper research.
Yeah.
I was not looking, bros. Yeah, you qualify for this.
Yeah. So and this point you just said is about sitting down and doing research. Because, like you rightly pointed out, maybe because of the way the kind of climb we are in, we don't do a lot of research. Where you're like, tell me exactly how it is. Give me the formula. Give me the formula. It doesn't work, because you need to do a lot of research. There's whatever, no matter the visa category that we mentioned, it still requires you to do a bit of research. Do your research, and you will be surprised that when you do your research, you will see how you fit, right? You will see how your story fits.
People on YouTube can only give you pointers. You can only just this. It's left for you to just go back and do your own work, right, and see which one works for you, right? It's been an interesting conversation so far. Thank you for sticking by. Thank you for watching. If you are new to this channel, right, please subscribe to my channel. Please click that subscription button and also the bell button to get notified when I upload new videos, right? And not just that, please share this video, like the video, comment, even if it's just an emoji, just thumb up. Please drop it on this video and share the video also with your network. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, Damilare, for doing this with me. And
Thank you too.
I promise to bring you more interesting conversations on this channel about Japan, because I think that's what almost everybody back home wants to hear about now, right? So till I see you guys in the next video, thank you. Peace out.
Exactly.